Gears of War Damnation, Chapter 6, Deliverance. I was laying there in shock, not only from my physical wound, but from what I saw. This thing ripped apart a man and his daughter right before my eyes, and now was searching for us. I could hear it. I could hear it down the hall of the little medical facility, scrounging, scraping, growling, waiting for anything to point it in the right direction. It wanted us, and it wanted us dead. I looked back at my brother, and he was getting up, but I whispered to him to be very quiet. He could stand, but his arm was bleeding profusely, and we needed to get out soon. I tried to stand, but it was a no-go. My leg was just pouring out blood, and we were kind of in a weird circumstance. He could stand, but I couldn't. I needed to lean on something just to be able to stand. My leg was pretty much gone at this point with the bullet wound, and since his arm was hurt, he could barely hold me up. We were basically walking at an extremely slow rate, and we had to make sure that thing didn't find us, because if it did, it was all over. There was no way we were going to be able to outrun it. So we decided to leave the room and go in the exact opposite direction of what we could hear it. It was near the entrance where we first entered. It was hitting something. You could hear it pounding on something, or maybe it was just because it was walking around and so heavy I can't really tell. But all I know is that we needed to get away from it. So we walked down the other end of the hallway, away from it. And out of nowhere we can hear it get really quiet. It stopped stomping. It stopped scraping. And shortly we knew why. It started walking towards us, started walking shortly behind us. Pretty much any simple step or any sound was like a radar going off. And we knew that we had to be extremely quiet. And even though we had a huge head start on it, it wasn't long before that thing was upon us. We made our way through the building, and we actually made it to cafeteria towards the end of the building. And we saw that at the end of that cafeteria that it led to the outside. We were about to make it to the exit, and we could see that thing right behind us making its way through the entrance of where we just came. We went outside, hoping that it would lose us. The wind was blowing, and it was starting to get cold. I think it was about to rain or something. The weather seemed kind of strange. We're walking down the little walkway they have outside throughout the building, and that thing is just following us, taking steps. It can hear us, but luckily it hasn't charged yet. My brother whispered to me that we weren't going to get away because of the fact that even though it was walking slow, it was still definitely walking faster than we could. We're literally extremely wounded, and my brother could barely carry me, and we knew that this thing was going to be on us soon enough. We went around the wall, and we lost it for a second. So we started to speed up, but that was a mistake. Our footsteps were too loud, and the second it heard us, it really charged through the wall. We fell, and this thing was right on top of us. My brother immediately stood up and started screaming and yelling to get its attention. It really charged after him, and he was running for his life. Luckily, since this town was such a little town, it was in a rural area with a lot of trees. He ran into the little wooded area behind the medical facility, and it charged after him into it. And they both left my field of sight, and I thought the worst. I could hear it screaming and roaring in the distance, chasing my brother. I could hear our trees falling and crumbling, and the whole little forest was being destroyed by this thing. Out of nowhere, I see my brother make his way back. He survived, and he immediately picked me up, and we started making our way down the side of the building. He actually tricked the thing and lost it in that wooded area. We made it to the car that we made into the city, our grandfather's car. Immediately turned that thing on and started to drive away. I guess that thing was closer than we thought, because the second we turned on the car, it appeared before us. It took a swing at the car. It literally made us go spinning, and we crashed into one of the buildings. I couldn't move. My arm was pinned under a piece of the car, and I was bleeding from my legs still. Everything was going faint. I could see my brother looking at me, face to face, saying something, but I was too out of it to make any sense of it. Everything was going faint. Everything was going black. And the next thing I knew, I could hear my brother yelling, and I could see that thing chasing him. And then everything went black. Is my brother okay? What's he doing? You don't need to do this, brother. Run. Get away. I'm not worth it. I'm nothing but a burden at this point. I can't even move. And you're still trying to save me? Run! The next thing I knew, I could see white. White everywhere. Once my eyes focused, I noticed that it was a ceiling. I was in a building of some kind. I immediately shot up. I was freaked out. I didn't want to be in any hospital after what happened. But that's exactly where I was. In a hospital. A soldier came in through the door. One of the cog. He told me that I was found by a squad, and they took me in. I was pinned underneath rubble and parts of the car after that thing punched it into the wall. I immediately asked for my brother, and he looked at me like I was strange. He told me that I was the only one they found. And based off what he told me, it was several hours after what happened before anyone found me. So for all I knew, my brother could have been dead already when I was found. I immediately shot up and started screaming at this man. Where the hell were you? Where the hell were all these freaking soldiers when we needed you? This town, it was ripped to shreds by these things, and none of you were there. What happened? The soldier immediately told me to calm down or he was going to be forced to arrest me. I didn't care. I kept screaming at him, asking him, where the hell were you when this town needed you? He told me that wasn't the only town that was being attacked at the time. The whole world was being ripped apart. So it wasn't their fault that they missed a few areas. I immediately wanted to punch him in the face, but I knew that if I got arrested, that I wasn't going to be able to search for my brother. I just sat in the bed, angry. Why did you do that, brother? Why? I don't know what happened to him at this point. The soldier looked at me like I was crazy, and I couldn't care less. Just that little outburst of anger and sitting up extremely fast drained me of all my energy. I immediately laid back down and just looked up at the ceiling. At the corner of my eye, I could see a TV hanging from the wall like any other hospital would have, and I could see what was on screen. And it was insane. I guess within the first 26 hours since these things came out of the ground, when I was attacked on the way to work and everything that happened with my parents, within that time frame, over a quarter of the planet's population had been wiped out. And it's already been several days after that. It was a matter of time before everything was wiped out. Before everything was gone. I didn't know what to do at this point. Do I even try to look for my brother? Do I try to work with the cog and become a soldier? What do I do? The world was falling fast, and I was no hero. There was no way I could make a difference. But I wanted to. My gosh, I wanted to. So all I did was lay there until one of the doctors came in. And they told me that it's been over a day since they found me, and I was like in a mild coma. And they were surprised that I actually woke up so soon. I asked them when I could be capable of leaving. The doctor told me that with my gun wound and with my head wound, it could take anywhere from a week or two. He told me that luckily, the gunshot wound to my leg was a clean shot and it hit nothing important. I told him that it was unacceptable, that I needed to go look for my brother as soon as possible. He advised me that that wasn't smart. I couldn't even stand anyways. Who am I kidding? I just laid there in agony, wondering where the hell is my brother? Did he get away from that thing? All I knew is that as soon as I was healed, I was gonna go look for him. That's not even a question. I will find you, brother.